What are the odds on Lincoln Hawk's bid?
20 to 1, pal. Real long shot.
Locks, let's go.
The world meets nobody halfway. Remember that.
I don't have a father, sir.
The world has always bet against Lincoln Hawks.
This guy's nothing.
Why'd you leave us?
It won't happen again.
I want my grandson found. I don't care how you do it. Do it.
But a winner never listens to the odds.
Whatever happens, I want you to stay with him.
Where'd we end up?
Together is all I can guarantee.
You ain't got a prayer in Vegas.
You never had anything, so you have nothing to lose.
All I want to do is hurt him, cripple him, get him off the table.
All I care about is you. You're my boy, you understand?
The world beats nobody halfway. Now is the time to do for yourself.
I want you.
Over the top, Dad! Over the top!
Sylvester Stallone, Over the Top.
Times have changed. Fighting has changed. But the crowd, they never change.
Our main event tonight features pain!
They just get bigger. The human body can only take so much. But the steel never stops.
This is what it's all about! Let's make some money!
Well, in case you haven't figured it out, like I presented the trailers before, the movie of the week this week is Over the Top versus Real Steel. The reason why I bring both these movies up because they're very, very similar. Here, let's try to get them all in one frame there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. First off, the movie I have been watching mostly this week is Sylvester Stallone's Over the Top. The brief synopsis about this movie, it's about Sylvester Stallone. He plays this guy by the name of Lincoln Hawk, and he's a truck driver who recently just got the rights to his son, the guardian rights to his son, and he hasn't been in his son's life probably since he was born, and so he's been missing from the son's picture, and finally he gets the custody rights to eventually take over because his wife is dying. And they start on this journey, father and son, building a relationship with each other because the son actually hates the dad for what he done, and then eventually he finds out why the dad had left. He had his reasons why he wasn't in this picture, and it was nothing that was really hateful about it, is that he had to make a living. Second thing is that Sylvester Stallone, not only is he driving the truck, but he's going around and participating in these arm wrestling matches. As a matter of fact, there's a whole thing at the end, or not towards the end, but the whole thing is he's fighting the boy's grandfather. And he's fighting him legally. The grandfather's trying to take the son away, but no matter, the only way that the grandfather would get custody is if Stallone's character is dead, basically. And so he participates in the arm wrestling championship, as you can see in the back. And typical tale is he wins. Now, what do I think about this movie? Yeah, this is cheap. This is cheese. I mean, it's enjoyable cheese. It's an enjoyable movie. It was not a real, how do I want to say it? A real successful movie. Not real big smashing numbers movie, because at the time Rocky and Rambo was really popular. And so Sylvester Stallone thought he could do something a little different but maintain that Rocky quality. But yeah, the movie of the week is Over the Top. This is the reason why, one of them, I must say, is movie of the week. The next one is Real Steel. Now, why in the world are you may ask yourself, why in the world am I having two movies as the movie of the week? Well, believe it or not, both movies are very, very similar. I'm going to get into some very technical things about this movie, or about both these movies. First of all, we'll look at the quote here on the Real Steel box here. It's Rocky with robots. A heartwarming movie for everyone, says Pete Hammond of Box Office Magazine. This is what I want to bring up, is this little quote right here. Sylvester Stallone made Rocky. He also wrote the co-wrote the screenplay for Over the Top. Now, we'll get into Real Steel here. Real Steel is about this man, played by Hugh Jackman. His name is Charlie Kenton. He, unlike Sylvester Stallone, has just come into a deal himself where he has to deal with the custody rights of his son, who he has not been in touch with since his birth. Did you see a little connection there? Not only that, he drives a big semi-truck participating in these robot fighting events. It's not arm wrestling. Instead, it's robots. Now, that would be the over-the-top element. Plus, you have the element of the kid where he does take the kid and develops a father and son relationship with him, even though he's not a very good father in this movie. While Sylvester Stallone tries to be a good father and Over the Top, Hugh Jackman is trying to do the opposite. He's trying to get rid of the kid, first of all. While Over the Top, Stallone, he's trying to be a part of his son's life. He's trying to make things work out between him and his son. And fortunately has a happy ending where he is able to... I just spoiled the movie for you, but who cares? But in this movie, it's a little bit different, where he does develop this relationship with his son. He does come close to him. But where it takes on Rocky is the fact that it's about the underdog. Matter of fact, they know who he is. They know who this guy is, but he doesn't have a good reputation. he loses his match every which way but loose. And it's finally up to the kid, who gets him this little sparring bot called Adam. And they eventually bond. That's how they bond. And they start winning some matches. And they develop a name, and they end up taking on the giant best robot that there is around, and giving that robot a run for its money and giving it a lot of trouble. But yeah, these are the movies. Yeah, this is essentially this movie remade with elements of Rocky. When over the top, instead of it being robots, it's arm wrestling, and it's just pretty much the same thing. There's actually a point where they have a duel. It's in both movies. Honest to goodness, they have a scene where, in Over the Top, there's a scene where he tells his son, basically teaches his son how to arm wrestle. So he sends him into this bully to kind of teach him how to do it. So he kind of throws him to the wolves, but how the first time he does it, he loses. And the second time, before the second time, he says, "Listen to me. You beat yourself up." And, he's building him up, and he says, "Now, you got to get mad and just do this with your thumb, or with your hands. Cover his thumb. Bam! And you got him." And sure enough, that happens. In Real Steel, there's a scene where they want to put the robot into competition with the, what is it? I'm trying to think of the organization. Kind of like boxing, where they have a league, and baseball, things like that. There's a league. I forget what it's called. I think it's World Robot Boxing, I think, WRB. But there's a scene, in order for the robot to be placed into competition, the robot has to take on this indie group, which are very notorious and very destructive. And the kid is running the robot. And the first few rounds, the robot gets beat. While they take a midway point, and Hugh Jackman pulls the kid aside, says, "Look," he basically says, "You're beating yourself up. You're causing yourself to lose." And he said, "Listen to me, and I'll help you beat this guy." And sure enough, the kid listens to Dad, and robot wins. And they're placed in the competition. And there's also things that just, not only is he fighting for the custody of the son, but they have different results. Like Real Steel is that he's trying to give the son up and get out of it scot-free, so he doesn't have to worry about taking care of him, and develops a relationship. While Over the Top, it's trying to get the custody of the son, fight for that son, the son's love and respect. Another similarity is that the father and son hate each other in the beginning, and they eventually work out a decent father and son relationship. I'm trying to think what else comes to mind here, but it's almost remade. This movie almost remade this. And that's how much similarities there is, that they just changed a few things. Really, it's the same story, and it does have a heart. They're both heartwarming stories that Because you feel for these characters in both films that you want these two to be together. You want them to be father and son for the rest of their lives. Both movies are a blast. Both movies, when they originally came out, were given kind of an okay review. I really enjoyed them. This movie came out in 2011. It was just under Super 8 as being my favorite movie of the summer of 2011. It was probably my second favorite movie. There was Super 8, then this. I thought it was a whole lot better than Transformers. I'm sorry. There was a lot of people comparing it to Transformers: Dark of the Moon at the time, and even though it has the same effects or similar effects, it's a different visual effects company, and it's the same producer as Transformers, Steven Spielberg. But it was not on par with Transformers. Another thing is they were comparing it to an old Amblin movie. Not really. It's more like a Sylvester Stallone movie of the 80s. Sylvester Stallone's over the top. Again, this movie was kind of mediocre. It was not mediocre, but it was in that it was okay. It's not great. Because, Rocky was out and it was doing gangbuster numbers, and he had to do a reputation movie to where he could show off his strength and be manly and have a good story behind it. This was in between, the Rocky films and the Rambo films. It was actually produced by Canon Films. I'm trying to think what else is here to talk about this. It was also co-written by Sterling Silliphant. In case you don't know who that guy is, he was the screenplay writer of the original Poseidon Adventure, and he also wrote Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. But yeah, Real Steel and Over the Top. As a matter of fact, I'm going to title this Over the Top versus Real Steel, a comparison review. This has been the Movie of the Week. I'm KDOG. See you later.